Okay, so have you ever felt like society just keeps pushing this find the one narrative? Like that's the only way to be happy. Well,
Yeah.
get ready because today we're going to do a deep dive on this article that like throws that whole idea right out. It's called Lonely Single Men Want Romance. Lonely Single Women Don't
Hmm.
by Bella DePaulo, published in Psychology Today, just this year actually. And let me tell you, it's got some stats in there that really made me think.
It is a really compelling piece
Yeah.
because it challenges this idea, this idea that's like so ingrained in us that everybody is searching for romantic love.
Yeah.
And it points to research that suggests a significant portion of single people aren't actually all that interested in romance or dating.
Yeah, I was like so surprised to learn
Yeah.
that it mentions these Pew Research Center findings from both
Uh-huh.
2019 and 2022, showing that a pretty sizable percentage of singles just weren't looking for love at all. It's almost like there's this whole other side, singlehood that we don't really talk about that much.
Exactly. And the article goes on to highlight this 2024 study from Yale sociologists that dives even deeper. They found that 51% of the single people they surveyed weren't actively seeking dates or relationships. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you break that down by gender and relationship history, the numbers change pretty dramatically.
Yeah, that's where it gets like really mind-blowing. The article says that 73% of previously married women weren't interested in romance. That's a huge number. What could even be driving that?
That's a great question, isn't it? And the article explores some possible explanations. It suggests that the burdens of marriage, like an unequal division of
Yeah.
household
Hmm.
and emotional labor, might lead some women to kind of reevaluate things. It's like they're saying, okay, I've experienced that chapter, and I'm not necessarily looking for a sequel.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially if those experiences were challenging. I mean, the freedom and independence of single life might seem even more appealing then. But wait, the article also said that single people who've never been married, but who feel lonely, DO, tend to seek romance. But again, this was less true for women, especially those who had been married before. Why would that be?
Well, it's a complex issue, and the article points to a few possibilities. It could be that women, particularly those who've been married, develop stronger social networks and support systems outside of romantic relationships. They might find fulfillment and connection in their friendships and families in ways that lessen the need for a romantic partner.
So it's not just about being disillusioned with marriage, but about finding other ways to connect and combat loneliness. That makes me think about the broader implications of all this,
Absolutely. If a large percentage of women,
especially those with marriage experience, are finding fulfillment outside of romantic relationships. What does that even say about the traditional narrative
yeah,
of, finding the one as the key to happiness? It really challenges some pretty deeply held societal beliefs.
right. And this is just the beginning of our deep dive. This article goes even deeper, exploring different perspectives on singlehood and what it means to live a fulfilling life. But before we move on, I'm curious, what stands out to you so far about these findings? Is there anything that particularly resonates with your own experiences?
What I find so fascinating is that these statistics really challenge the dominant narrative around relationships. The article touches on the idea of being single at heart, which is a concept I think we need to explore further. It raises the question, what if, for some people, singlehood is not just a temporary state, but a conscious and fulfilling life choice? Yeah, I've always kind of thought of singlehood as this like in-between phase, like you're just waiting for the real thing to start. But this whole single at heart thing, that's something I haven't really thought about before. What does that even mean?
Well, the article goes into the work of Bill DiPaolo,
Hmm.
who's done a lot of research on this concept, and she describes single at heart people as those who like genuinely thrive in singlehood. They're not just like avoiding romance. They're actively embracing the freedoms and the connections and the opportunities for growth that being single can offer.
So it's not about settling or being afraid of commitment. It's more about recognizing that singlehood can actually be a fulfilling and meaningful way to live.
Exactly. And DePaul's research suggests that this isn't like a small group of people either. There are a lot of people who identify as single at heart, which really challenges that traditional idea that everyone wants a romantic partner.
That's pretty revolutionary when you really think about it. I mean, we're so bombarded with messages that, happiness comes from finding the one. But what if there's this whole group of people out there who are finding that same level of happiness and fulfillment, but outside of a romantic relationship? It makes you wonder where those messages come from and why they're so common.
Yeah, the article talks about that too. It suggests that there's this long history
Mm.
of societal norms and cultural messages that prioritize romantic relationships
Yeah.
as like the ultimate source of fulfillment. Think about fairy tales or romantic comedies, even advertising. It's everywhere.
It's true. We're constantly exposed to these happily ever after stories, right from when we're kids. So it's no wonder so many people think that finding a partner is the only way to be truly happy. But maybe it's time to rewrite that story.
I think so. This research really highlights how important it is to recognize that happiness and fulfillment can come from a lot of different places. Romantic love is just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
That's a powerful message. Just because someone isn't actively looking for a partner doesn't mean that they're incomplete or unhappy. They might be finding joy and purpose in other parts of their lives.
Exactly. Singlehood can be just as enriching and meaningful as any other relationship status. It's all about finding what works for you and embracing the joys and the challenges
Yeah.
that come with it.
And for a lot of people, that might mean focusing on friendships or family connections or personal passions and all the other amazing things that life has to offer.
For sure. And this isn't to say that romantic relationships can't be a source of joy and fulfillment. Of course they can. But it's important to acknowledge that they're not the only path to a happy and meaningful life.
Okay, so we've talked about how the desire for romance isn't universal and that singlehood can be just as fulfilling as any other relationship status. But this article has really opened my eyes to a different way of thinking about things. It's challenging us to question everything we thought we knew
Yeah.
about relationships and life choices.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's pushing us to reconsider our assumptions about what's considered normal or what's expected when it comes to relationships. And that can be both kind of unsettling and incredibly liberating at the same time.
It really is. It's like we're being invited to rewrite the script on what a fulfilling life can look like. And maybe while we're doing that, we can also challenge those stereotypes about single people and create a more inclusive and accepting society where everyone feels valued, regardless of their relationship status.
I think that's a beautiful idea. And it all starts with having these conversations, with questioning those beliefs, and with being open to different perspectives.
So for all of you listening, think about this. If societal expectations around romance are changing, how does that affect how we view things, like dating apps? Or even just meeting people in person? Does it take some of the pressure off?
That's a great question. It makes things more complicated, doesn't it? I mean, if we assume everyone's looking for the one, then every interaction has that weight to it. But if we acknowledge that a lot of people are perfectly happy being single, then maybe it creates space for more genuine connections, whatever form they take.
It's less about finding a partner to fit in and more about just connecting with people authentically, whether it leads to romance or friendship or something totally different.
Yeah, exactly. It opens up so many possibilities for how we relate to each other. Imagine a world with less judgment and more understanding between those who want a partner and those who are happy being single. I think we could learn a lot from each other's experiences.
I love that. Celebrating each other's choices instead of assuming single people are just waiting to be in a relationship.
Right. It would be a huge shift.
For sure.
And I think it starts with conversations like this one, with, questioning those old assumptions. It's about being open to a broader view of what happiness and fulfillment can look like.
Yeah, this article has given us a lot to think about, not just about singlehood and romance, but about, societal expectations.
Yeah.
And the pressure to follow certain life paths.
Exactly. If we accept that not everyone wants romance, it raises some interesting questions, like how might that change how we build community and offer support to each other? Are we really meeting the needs of a growing single population?
Those are important questions. Maybe we need to rethink how we design our social spaces, our communities, even our policies to be more inclusive and supportive of different ways of living.
It's a really fascinating thing to think about. I think as we embrace this broader perspective on relationships, we're going to discover new ways to create connection and belonging for everyone, no matter their relationship status.
So as we wrap up this deep dive today, I want to leave you with this thought. What if that pressure to find the one just went away? How might that change your interactions with the world, with potential partners, or even with yourself?
Maybe it'd be a chance to find a new sense of freedom
Bruh.
and contentment
Yeah.
right where you are.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today on this deep dive into the world of singlehood and romance. We hope it's given you some new ideas to think about